Good morning, guys. Very good morning. Thank you so much for joining in a such quick, short notice. A request to all of you: can you please turn off your cameras and mute yourself for smooth streaming? Everyone, I hope I'm audible. Uh, Requesting everyone to turn off their cameras and mute yourself. Okay. Cool. Let's start then. Very good morning to everyone. I hope you guys are having very good Sunday. Happy Sunday during this quarantine and lockdown and everything. A lot of hustle, a lot of challenges, and a lot of weird things that are happening that are not in our favor for sure. But we, on behalf of the entire team of Flutter Ahmedabad, I welcome you all, and we are hoping that you guys are safe and staying home and all healthy. I can see some mics are still not muted. Please mute yourself. Great. Okay, so on behalf of entire Flutter community and Flutter Ahmedabad, this session is something which is not so much of Flutter, and I let me just quickly show you what we have for you guys and play today. There we go. Yeah. So something, a skill which is very essential and very important, soft skills, which cannot be discarded at all. This session would be more centric to employability and cracking the interviews. The speaker we have for today is established trainer and have really have like immense experience in recruiting and taking interviews. So thankfully, I'll have to tell this to you guys that she was the one who approached that I want to make the most out of this time, and I want to tell people that the soft skills are something that you are lacking. And if this is the reason that you are not able to crack the interview, so she is there to help you out. So this is what we have for you in the plate today. A quick introduction to what all we will be covering today and what the soft skills that we believe and she means and you all need to understand. We all will be in the same page. So again, if you haven't been through the description part of Meetup page today, I'll just quickly read it for you. To provide an overview of employability skills that aspiring professionals should have in them before they appear for any interview. From Campus to Corporate in 2020 by Simita Sambyal, who is a soft skill trainer, a facilitator, life coach, master practitioner of neuro linguistic programming, practitioner of emotional freedom technique with over a decade of experience. So sometimes you learn and sometimes you win. This is what we have been reading, like like uh, since quite a long time. That if you sometimes you learn, or if you don't learn, then you win. If you don't win, then you learn something. You take feedback from them. So this is what we will be touching up today. Why soft skills are important? Because hard skills are useless without soft skills. If I come up for the interview, I am an expert at Flutter, but I do not know how to present myself, then somebody who has the same skills like me, he would be the preferred choice of the recruiter because he has something that I don't have, and soft skills are the one which will differ, which will which will bifurcate that who is better. We all have been through. We must have heard about it at least that interviewer ask that can you sell this pen to me? We must have thought why this pen selling is the question, man. I'm here for the iOS development. I'm going for a big MNC interview, and you guys are asking me to selling a pen. Okay, but we do answer that question. We do try to put our best foot forward. How can I do this? Like, and we think a lot about it. But why is that question? Because soft skills are something which is essential. Hard skills, you can learn programming, you can learn whatever your technical requirement, whatever your work demands, and over the time you can practice it and you can learn that. But soft skills are something you cannot learn that way, which is closely linked with the person's character. A kind of commitment to self development to improve your soft skills, which is not again very easy. Like they're necessarily hard to acquire, but hard skills aren't. Soft skills are. They can be easily taught. The hard skills can be easily taught. It can be learned and perfected over the time. But soft skills are more challenging to develop since they have little to do with the knowledge or expertise. Hard skills may look your no impressive on your CV, but the soft skills are the one which will set you apart from the many candidates who have similar expertise to you. And again, the modern workplace is interpersonal. Skills are listening and seeing, collaborating with others, presenting ideas, and communicating with the team members are highly valued in the modern workplace. You guys might have seen that a person having good communication skills, having good presentation skills, takes gets preference over someone who has more experience, who is so sound in technical stuff. But no, the person who is having more soft skills, because technical skills that can be taught by a team lead or a trainer, entire like the company has. But soft skills are something which cannot be learned like that. The future workplace is again completely relying on soft skills. Each business minded human, each business person, what the key skill that they have is negotiation, which is a part of soft skill again. If you know how to negotiate, you are winning the game. Yeah. Again, a disclaimer. Please mute yourself and turn off the cameras. Thank you. Okay, so now you know what is the importance of soft skills. If we try to define it in one line, it would be a personal attribute which will help you to interact well with other people. If we just take it like a simple thing in a desi language, it will be a people skill. I think this is good enough to define why it is important. And a quick request to all of you: if you know someone in your network who is about to crack an interview and who has tried a lot, who is really sound in technical stuff, but they're lacking somewhere with soft skills, you take 1 minute of yours and share these links with them. Probably because the coming thing, whatever we are going to listen to her now, Smita, she would be touching base all the necessary aspects of how you can win that, how you can just master that, how you can practice that and be better and better at that. So you can share the links with them. You can tweet and you can use your all the social media power to spread this word and to have more and more crowd, because after all, the entire setup is for all of you, including us. We do not get any other benefit other than spreading knowledge with you and sharing it with you, whatever we have gathered so far. I think I am good to sum up now, and we can just quickly let Simita take over now. Simita, can you please turn on your camera and unmute yourself?
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Very good.
Am
You
I
can turn on
audible?
the camera as well. Wonderful. So this is on behalf of the Flutter Ahmedabad team and and Simita as well. We welcome you and we ask you to stay safe and keep learning and keep creative, keep spreading
Thank
whatever you
you.
learn, and this will be wonderful. So I will be muting myself now, and this is this not the stage, but the screen is all yours, Simita.
Thank you so much, Poonam, for that wonderful introduction. I'm feeling honored and humble to be a part of this session today. Thank you so much for providing me this opportunity. Uh, so, like Poonam has mentioned, that soft skills definitely are important to get a job in today's scenario. So, let's talk about that today. Let me know if you guys are able to see my screen. Shall we proceed? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, very good morning to all of you, whoever has, sacrificed their Sunday morning sleep and have invested this time to join me. My trainer always says that, the best audience that you can get, it is on Sunday morning. So if you get people on Sunday morning joining you for any kind of an activity, it really shows that they are focused. They do have some vision in the mind for themselves and for their life and for their career. So congratulations to all of you. You have almost sacrificed your morning sleep, weekend morning sleep, and join me for this session. I will try my best to ensure that I'm able to impart knowledge and skills that I have acquired over a period of time, so that it is helpful and adding value to your lives as well. So let's proceed further. This is the agenda for the day. We are going to talk about transitioning from campus to corporate, essential employability skills, especially with regards to 2020, the kind of time, the setup that we have these days. Interview assessment parameters and understanding the interview process, and a little bit of psychology of the interviewer as well. I will be touching upon that. So in case you're wondering, I'm not a fresher, why should I be sitting through this session? So let me tell you that this session is for all those who are about to enter the corporate world or any kind of work environment, I would say, who are already into the work environment and already working and have invested or spent a couple of years in the work setup, or probably you are in your mid-career. So the employability skills and the skills that an employer wants in the employees almost pretty much remains the same. It's just that the degree or the measure varies. In a fresher, probably it would be between 1 to 5, but if you are an experienced one, the expectation from an employer would be at least you should be at the scale of 7, 8, or 9. All right, so this is the agenda, and in case you have any questions, we definitely have a Q&A session towards the end of this session. So you might want to put your questions in the chat box, and we'll be able to take up those questions towards the later part of the session. All right, so in case you are preparing for an interview, and I'm not going to tell you, that you got to stay till the end of the session to get maximum benefits out of this. You guys know about all that. All right, so skills needed to transition from campus to corporate. If you are a fresher and you are an aspiring, employee, you want to enter into the corporate world, or you want to join any workspace, there are two types of skills that an employer wants, or an employee is gauged upon two types of skills. So first one is the hard skills, and the second one are the soft skills. Now let's look at the hard skills. What are these hard skills? I'm sure you guys have invested so many years in learning all these things, coding, programming, the website designing, if you're able to write codes or do kind of testing, blockchain, artificial intelligence, computer languages that you have invested your time, and the big fat books that you have read over from college to from school to college and university, and probably some professional courses also, or some kind of certifications in the development field if you have done. Those are your hard skills. We all of us have invested a lot of time in learning hard skills, isn't it? Security analysis. However, if you look at the soft skills, I have listed a couple of soft skills over here for your reference. Yeah. So if you could ask yourself this question, did we learn these, soft skills in our school, in our college, in our families, or do we really need to go to an office to learn all these skills? I would say these are behaviors that we start learning even before we enter the corporate world or any kind of world for that matter. Yeah, isn't it? Communication, for example. Today's employer is looking for somebody who has a balanced approach in terms of hard skill and soft skills. When you go for an interview, they give you some technical questions. Probably you will be able to answer those questions or may not, but you can definitely learn over a period of time, as in when you're exposed to the environment. However, soft skills are the behaviors, I would say. Communication skill is not that you learn in a day or two. For that, probably if I can give you an example, your mother tongue, you did not learn it by reading books, or you specifically went to a particular class to learn your mother tongue. No, right? We learned it at home, as in when we were listening to people around us, as in when we started speaking. Over a period of time, we learned that skill. However, if you talk about English, people go to English speaking classes, grammar and all that. I mean, you can read and cram n number of grammar books, but you're not going to learn the language unless it. Similarly, I have listed a couple of these: creativity, complex problem solving, collaboration, adaptability, flexibility, emotional intelligence, critical thinking, people management, decision making, and negotiation. These are few soft skills, and there are many more actually. So when you are appearing for an interview, look at your resume and try and understand if your resume has little bit of everything of this, or if it is not possible for you to put it everything on the resume. While you are interacting with the interviewer, ensure that your speech, your attitude, your behavior, examples that you quote are displaying these soft skills. So we are going to be talking a little bit more on this. Let's proceed next. Yeah, so employability skills or the kind of soft skills. Definitely employability skills does include your hard skills plus the all the skills that we have mentioned over here. Complex problem solving. Now, I really need not go to an office only then I display this complex problem solving. No, complex problem solving happens in our families also. For example, you have an argument with somebody, a family member. Let's say that your mother has cooked something that you don't like, right? So there is a conflict and there's a problem for you. So how do you go about it? If you are not aware, probably you will start yelling and screaming, and you will be angry that, oh, I don't like this dish and I'm not going to eat today. Are you going to solve the problem? Is it leading you resolution of the problem? No, you are creating more problems for your family and for yourself. So how do you cater? How do you deal with this issue that is in the family? Or maybe there's an argument, there's a problem in the family. Do you all start screaming and yelling at each other, or you go ahead and sit together and sort out the problem? So this is a behavior that we learn over a period of time. If we have not practiced this in our family setup and we don't know how to go about it, by the time we reach office and we are stuck in certain kind of problems, we are going to get panicked, we are going to get stressed out. Next one is critical thinking. If whenever there is a situation, do you only think about yourself from your perspective, or you look into other person's perspective also and try to figure out how you can solve this issue? Or there's a problem and you look at it from different angles, different perspectives, from different perspectives of various people included in that, and you come up with critical analysis. Is it going to, you weigh the pros and cons of whatever you are recommending. If you are saying that, yeah, I will travel from, in this time, during quarantine time, I'm going to travel from Ahmedabad to Baroda. Probably there is some issue that is happening. And you look at the pros and cons, not just stuck with one decision, I will travel no matter what. But you look at the other aspect also and critically analyze how you're going to resolve this challenge. Next employability skills is creativity. Creativity is one of the most critical aspects in today's world. Now, look at the technology, how it is evolving. Quarantine has ensured that we all are stuck at home, locked down, right? We are not able to step out. So creativity, how we are bringing up creative solutions in terms of technology to connect with people. You would have seen creativity in your own setups, how you are connected with people, how you are, various platforms to get, connected with people. So this is nothing but creativity. So even if you look at your family setup, if there are certain challenges, instead of looking at only one or two solutions, how can we ask yourself this question? How can I bring up more creativity, and how can I get more solutions to work to this problem? People management, yeah. Now, this is another important employability skill, because we all have to work with people. There is nobody working in silo. Even if you say that I'm a freelancer, you have to deal with the client who is going to give you some kind of expectations, some kind of requirements, and they will have some mindset that this is how my product should look like. So how are you going to manage this entire setup? Or probably if you're working in a team, you have like 2 to 3 people working with you on certain projects. Are you able to manage them? Are you able to set up clear deadlines or clear expectations? And in case you want to put across some points, are you feeling scared that it might offend them? How are you going, if you're leading a team, if you are leading a project, How are you going to assign the tasks to various people? So this is all about people management. It happens at home also. If there are like 5 to 6 members in the family and somebody is, finding some challenge, and do you just pitch in to help that person, or you're just going ahead and doing your own work? Are you contributing? Are you managing those people around? Collaboration, another important skill. The reason for that is we are going to work, and in fact, we are working in collaboration with others. For example, if today's this meeting, if you see, we are in collaboration with Flutter community. I am presenting. Through them, they are in collaboration with me, and we are in collaboration with all of you who are attending this session. Similarly, in your work setup, if you are a fresher and if you are not comfortable working with a lot of people, then you might want to think about it. You're not going to work in silos. You're not going to work in individually, sitting in one corner of the place and delivering your 100%. Of course, we will be giving our 100%. However, speaking to people would be a part of our life at work, interacting with them, getting requirements from them, getting their suggestions, implementing them is going to be a part of our life at work at least. So similarly, if you haven't introspected how you collaborate with people, what is your strategy, or you don't want to collaborate because you don't like to work with people, then it is highly recommended that you might want to work on this skill. When there are people, let's say that there is a gathering, okay, at home, and you just don't like some people. They just don't get along really well with you, or you don't get those positive vibes from them. But is that a reason that you just don't be a part of that gathering? No. If that's the case, then I think the recommendation is you should work on this skill. Be a part of that group and still ensure that you are contributing, you are treating everybody equal, and you are in collaboration with others also, so that their goal is met and your goal is also met, and at the end of the day, everybody is happy. In the work setup, yes, collaboration is going to happen, and it happens at a large extent. So introspect and try to analyze your own life and understand what is your strategy to collaborate with people. It might be collaboration between your friends, between your family members, between your relatives, or some groups that you may be a part of it, right? Let's move on to the next one, which is emotional intelligence. Extremely important. Emotional intelligence talks about being self-aware, being aware of our emotions, when things are right and when things are not going right, and consider other people's emotions also. The first thing is I need to be aware of my own behaviors. I need to be aware of my emotions. How do I react in a given situation? Let's say that your father is saying something to you and you really don't want to, go ahead and do that stuff. Do you get angry? Do you get, frustrated? Or do you have a control on your emotion and you still stay calm and composed and you go ahead and help him? Or maybe there's a brother and there is only one bike at home. You have to go to office, or you need bike and he also needs bike, and it is an urgent thing that he needs to go ahead with. Do you get angry? Do you get, irritated or annoyed that he's always like this? Or you go ahead and manage your emotion, manage your state, and, look for a positive resolution to that situation. Similarly, emotional intelligence also talks about thinking of other people's emotions. When you see that, people in your family are struggling to do something, are you emotional enough? Are you empathetic enough to be proactive and offer solution, or you are just, worried about yourself and you're just confined to yourself? So it talks about considering other people's emotions also. Decision making. This is going to happen day in and day out. Now, decision that you took today to join me talks a lot about you, whether you are focused on your career, whether you want to invest some time in deciding some goals for yourself, or learning something during this quarantine time and making the most of it, or you just don't want to, go ahead and join this call, or, just enjoy your weekend because probably some other time I'll attend this. So this is a part of decision making. This decision that you took, I would appreciate. I appreciate you guys for that. And decision making happens on daily basis. You really don't have to step into a corporate world to understand what is decision making. Right from the beginning, from the time you're up in the morning, decision to make your bed. You don't like it, but you still do it, or maybe you don't. It depends on person to person. So that is the decision making. In every moment we are making choices, whether you're thirsty right now, you want to pick up the bottle and drink water or not, or you want to stay for some more time, you want to have a cup of coffee right now, you pause this call right now and you go and grab a cup of coffee, or you want to have it a little later once it is done. That is the decision. And every decision that we are making, it has power, it has, it will give us some or the other results. So when you step into corporate world, definitely decision making is going to be a part of daily life. You are kind of in a panic mode. What do I do now? My internet is off. So decision would be, probably you will call back the client, or maybe you will inform your manager that, oh, this I was on a call with this client and I could not complete it because of some technical issue. So yeah, I'm going to call back this person and get this fixed. So that is the decision that you're taking. It happens on a daily basis. In every moment we are taking decisions. It's just that probably we have not paid attention, or maybe we are not even aware of it. So going forward, henceforth, if in a dilemma, if you want to do something but you're confused, look at your own strategies. What do you think when you are deciding something? Yeah. Let's move to the next one, service orientation. I see that there are a lot of people who are from the development bit who have joined today us. Now, with regards to service orientation, now I'll give an example, okay? So you're developing a product which is the outcome of your own thought process, your own knowledge. However, did you consider clients' perspective also? Did you understand their mindset? Were you able to follow their requirements, what actually they want, and are we able to deliver that? So that is service orientation. Are we keeping in our mind the client's expectations? Are we considering their thought process? Are we understanding how easy or how difficult it becomes for them to follow what we have to do? Negotiation, yes, it will happen. Negotiation happens at home also. These are behaviors. I'm not going to say that you go to a good institute and of course they can guide you and then train you and give you exposed to some kind of environment where you explore these skills. However, just being aware of your daily routine, your daily behaviors will help you to understand this. Negotiation, I'll go back to this example of the bike. One bike in the family and two people want to utilize this. How do you negotiate? Do you go ahead and give this bike to your brother who definitely needs it, or you are stuck with your own thought process? No, I need to go. I can't manage other stuff. So how do you negotiate in this situation and create a win-win situation for both the parties? Similarly, in the work setup, negotiations are going to happen. When it comes to interviewing skills, right? Negotiation on your salary packages happen. Negotiation on certain projects happen. So are we, looking at a win-win situation, or are we not? Next is the cognitive flexibility, or I would say if we are mental gymnasts. Now, from our childhood and until now, we have learned some kind of hard skills, we have learned some kind of behaviors. Are we ready to unlearn those and learn something new? Do we have growth mindset? That is the cognitive flexibility. Are we ready to use the gray matter in a way that, God has blessed us, that it helps us to do our self-work, help others, and learn something new. A lot of people have this fixed mindset. They'll be stuck with one thought process, they'll be stuck with one perception, and they don't really want to think about something else. Am I audible?
Yeah.
I heard. Okay. So let's talk about communication, which is definitely one of the factors. You interact with people around, you interact with interviewers, you have applied for multiple jobs over various portals, you have uploaded your resumes, you have got calls as well, the initial screening, telephonic round from the recruiters, but then you're wondering why I'm not being called for the interview. This could be one of the factors. I'm not saying this will be the factor, but this could be one of the factors. Probably you did not sound really confident on the call. Maybe you were not able to explain that you want to. Maybe you could not put across your strengths in a way that recruiter was convinced. There is, a lot of people. I interact with a lot of people. They are so amazing in terms of their technical field. However, when it comes to explaining others in a simple language, they really struggle. So
Excuse me.
that is the challenge. That is the challenge. Yes, please.
Can you repeat the first topic?
Cognitive flexibility.
Yes.
All right. So cognitive flexibility talks about when we want to, let's say that, you have worked for some time in a particular setup, you know the coding in this language, and you know that this is how this works. But when you join a new sector, when you join a new office, you are not really open to learn something new. You are again going back to your old experiences and trying to relate, oh, I learned it this way, I think probably there is something wrong with this kind of coding what they have done. So every corporate, every industry will have their own protocols to follow. So if you are ready to unlearn what you have learned earlier and try, and you are ready to adapt to the new situation, and you are ready to understand the logic of the new product that they are offering and why things are working in a certain manner, if you are ready to give yourself that time, this is called growth mindset, this is called cognitive flexibility. Does that
Thank
answer
you.
your question? Welcome.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to the next skill, which is communication, soft skills and assertiveness, extremely important. Now, these days, a lot of interviews are happening on the telephone, I would say. In-person interviews have reduced. A lot of people are being interviewed over telephone. Extremely important to have a strong communication skills. I may be a pro, I may be an amazing developer, I may be an amazing tester. However, if I'm not able to convince the other person and explain the skills that I have through communication over the phone, I may not be able to grab that opportunity. And communication doesn't happen in 1 or 2 days or probably in a month or 2 months. You really need to give yourself some time, and practice is the key. Practice, practice, practice. Now, when I interview people and I ask them, how often do you speak in English? And they say that, you know what, I don't have anybody to talk to. I don't have anyone at my home who can speak in English and I can talk to. So the, alternate what I can recommend over here is just stand in front of the mirror and talk to yourself. If you're uncomfortable, just close the door and, stand in front of the mirror, talk to yourself like a friend, the way you will speak to your friend, and see. Now, what will happen when you start practicing this way? You will understand how your facial expressions are. You will understand how your body language is, because communication is not just voice, the words, it is your body language also. Over the phone, definitely the other person cannot see your body language. However, if it is a conference call, if it is an in-person interview, your body language does matter. And a lot of people get rejected because of this aspect. Soft spoken, of course, it is important. The rate of speech and the tone. We do want to sound confident, but we do not want to sound overconfident. Confidence is important. However, overconfidence is not good when it comes to convincing people. You might come across as somebody who is arrogant, who is stuck, who is not ready to listen to the other person. Another thing that happens on telephone conversation is interruption. People have so much to speak, they keep interrupting the other person. So we might want to pause, take a breath, and give the opportunity to the other person to speak. That sounds professional, that looks professional, and it is a good behavior. Assertiveness is extremely important. Now, you have a point to make. You don't have to get scared that, oh, if I say what this person is going to think about me. If you have a valid point, bring it up. Feel free to share it. At the same time, put across in such a way that it does not offend the other person. There's a way to say. You might want to say that, yeah, I agree to what you're saying. However, what I feel, I do have, a point that I want to make over here is that we should work on this project in such a way. What do you think? Yeah, these are the couple of employability skills. Proactive behavior. An employer is definitely looking for employees who are proactive, in doing things, who are proactive in catering to the needs of the clients, who are proactive in learning new things, and proactive in sharing knowledge with others. Very simple example. If you look at your own life, ask this question to yourself: are you proactive in your daily behavior? If you see, one of your family member is struggling to finish the household chores, and let's say that it's your mom who is the entire day busy in the kitchen, and still there is some work pending. Are you proactive in offering help, or you're still waiting for her to finish everything, and then you are just busy on the Netflix? Yeah. So this is one way of identifying if you have the skill or you have to work on it. If you don't have, better is we start practicing from now by being aware of our daily habits, by being aware of daily behaviors that we exhibit. If you're not aware, probably we may not be aware that we are doing it right or wrong. Yeah. An employer is definitely looking for an employee who is proactive in picking up things. For example, there's a meeting that has happened. So are you proactive in saying that, okay, I will make the meeting minutes and share it with everybody, or you're still waiting for the manager to say that, hey, can you just write down the meeting minutes and document it and send it across to everybody in the team? Yeah, so not just for the freshers, these skills are equally important for people who are already working, who are already into the sector, who have invested or spent a couple of years in the work environment. So if you look at your own daily behavior at work or in your personal life, look at your daily routine and try and understand whether you have these skills. If you have, amazing, great work. If you do not have, find out opportunities, how you can develop these skills and come across a better professional, because once you start exhibiting these skills, you open the doors for the progress in your particular domain wherever you are. If you're looking for a promotion, good efforts, the daily work, the kind of work that we do on a daily basis will give you good results. However, if you're looking for better opportunities, you will have to put in some more efforts, more than what you're putting in right now. Another employability skill that an employer these days is looking for: inclusiveness. How connected you feel to the organization, how connected you feel to the challenges that an organization is facing, how connected you are, how connected you display your behavior, or how connected you are with others. Times are changing, situations are changing. Now, we all were going, in case you're already an employee.
Mario Key.
I'm sorry.
Can I go to the bathroom?
I beg your pardon, sir. Was that a question for me?
I'm so sorry.
That's the Michelin.
Okay. Not an issue. Not a problem. So inclusiveness, an employer is definitely looking for someone who can feel connected, who can show that he is or she is a part of the organization, and every decision that organization is taking, no matter what, I will contribute. Now, if you look at the current scenario, in case you are an employee, we all were working from office earlier, but the sudden shift that happened, We all started working from home, most of us rather, I would say, because of the current lockdown situation and COVID-19 and the kind of terror that entire world is engulfed into. So did we display any inclusiveness? Yeah, I will do some setup arrangement at home. I'll make some arrangement at home and I'll offer my contribution, and I will contribute towards the organization. Or as an employee, just no, it's not possible for me. I can't work from home. You know, whenever there is a decision making and you're asked for your responses, your contribution, are you showing inclusiveness? Are you really contributing? That goes back to the regular surveys as well. You know, when the organization is asking employees for surveys, go ahead and provide your feedback. Do we really take time to provide that feedback? Do we really take time to provide constructive feedback and help the organization to grow? So it happens at home. If you look at your family member, if they are looking for some help, are you giving them critical and constructive feedback so that they develop, or you're just saying, oh, it's all good, that's okay, you'll be all right? So this is inclusiveness. Now, when we look at these employability skills, scan your resume. If you are somebody who is appearing for an interview, who's planning to appear for an interview, look at your resume, scan, and try and incorporate these employability skills and showcase it in your resume, and while you are interacting with your interviewer also. Moving on, let's take a look at the hiring and the interview process and the kind of glitches that we come across. As an interviewer, I will be sharing a couple of examples.
Let's be starting to bring Michelin.
Hey teacher, I have a question.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Mario, you here? Hey teacher,
Yes,
can
please
you
go
hear
ahead.
me?
Yes, I
Can you
can.
hear
I
me?
can. Yes, I can. Please go ahead with your question.
I can speak.
Yeah, guys, a gentle request to all of you. If you're not aware, we have the chat box dedicatedly for that only, and the team behind, like the organizing team, is keep on checking the questions and will be taking all of them up probably. Almost all of them will try to
Teacher,
touch them up. So I request you all, let this go smooth. Turn off your cameras and keep yourself muted, and write your questions in the chat box. So that probably, because you don't know, she might have your answer in the next slides. So I hope this is very clear to all of you. Don't take it otherwise. Please write your questions in that chat box, and we are keeping an eye on that. Don't worry, we are keeping an eye on that. We will try to catch all of them, probably all of them. We have the Q&A at the end of this session. I think I'm clear enough to all of you. Turn off your cameras, ask your questions in the chat box, and keep yourself muted. That's all. Over to you, Simita. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Poonam. I will be able to answer the questions towards the end of the session. Thank you for your cooperation, all of you, please. Okay, so let's take a look at the hiring and the interview process, and I'm going to be sharing a little bit of insights from the, the psychology of an interviewer. Stay tuned for that. So if you are definitely an active job seeker, ensure that your resume is updated on all the platforms wherever you want to update it. Second thing is, sometimes the goof ups that I've seen is the contact detail. It's so hard to find the contact number of the candidate. So that should be towards the top left of the resume, the first page. If there is a photograph, amazing. If you can't, it's absolutely okay. You might want to ensure that the resume should look presentable. So use the bullet points, tables, formatting, and all that stuff, and all the tools available to ensure that it looks good. If you are an experienced person and if you are looking for a new job, ensure that the experience, the work experience is in the tabular form. You use table to list down that experience. The current employer should be on the top, and then the second and the third. We don't need to know about your marital status. That need not to be there on the resume. Now, at times what happens, people come for the interview, they would have already emailed the CV to the recruiter. However, it's always a good idea to carry at least 2 separate or 2 extra copies, 2 hard copies of this.
Hello.
Know your resume really well. Ensure that before you appear for an interview, you have gone through your CV.
Come on, let's speak English. This is not English. Please.
Each and every line, the work experience from when to when, the dates, if you have listed some kind of interpersonal skills, if you have, for example, I come across CVs where people have written, interpersonal skills as I'm a team player, or I have great time management skills, I have great communication skills. But then when we ask them, how did you display team spirit, or how did you ensure time management skills are in place? Give me certain examples. How have you displayed these skills in your life? They will not have incidents ready. They will not have examples ready. So in case you have listed a couple of skills on your CV, sometimes it happens that people write, I have amazing time management skills. But when I ask them what's their daily routine, yes, please. And when we ask them, what's your daily routine? So they say that, I get up at 11 in the morning. So that is not something to do with time management. So there's a conflict. There's a conflicting answer over there. Be ready to explain the projects that you may have mentioned in simple language. It happens a lot with people from the technical domain. They find it so difficult to explain the projects that they have done. They find it so difficult to explain how these projects have benefited the clients in simple language. Remember, the first recruiter and the second interview that happens, they are not somebody who are tech savvy. They are not technical. They don't know such technical language. So if you are able to explain in simple language, it would be amazing. So you might want to work on those. Yeah, be ready to explain how each skill that you have mentioned will be helpful to the organization that you plan to join. Let's say that I write, I have great collaboration skills, but if the interviewer asks me, how have I displayed this skill in my life so far? Then you might want to give examples. I collaborate with various, clients. I collaborate, or maybe if you are a part of some NGO, you have to collaborate, or if you are a part of some project, you collaborate with others and get work done. So whole point is, before you put something on your CV, ensure that you have a background story ready for such incidents, such skills. If you're writing that my hobby is reading newspaper, and if you haven't read it today, an interviewer asks you that what is the headline today, then definitely there's a conflict. You're not coming across as somebody whom they can trust. There's a trust issue coming up. Yeah. Couple of more questions or thoughts that you might want to look at is, be ready to explain how you can help the organization to grow further with your contribution. And again, each skill that you have mentioned on your CV will be helpful to organization that you plan to join. So how you can help the organization and what expectation that you have from the organization, both needs to be very, very clear. Now, the kind of technical knowledge that you may have. You are good with programming language, you're good with development, you're working on SQL or C++ or some other platform or artificial intelligence. So this is how I will be able to help the organization. On the call with an interviewer or during your interview, you don't want to fumble or stammer or struggle to come up with incidents or examples. So this preparation needs to happen beforehand, needs to happen before you appear for an interview. And if you can take help from somebody, amazing. If you cannot take help from someone, just lock yourself in a room, stand in front of the mirror, and imagine you are in that cabin where you are you are being interviewed, and understand your body language. See how your hands are tapping on the table. See how your eye movement is happening, how your facial expressions, how your eyelids are moving. All these things matter when you are attending an interview. With NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and some kind of technology, techniques of NLP, it is very, very easy for an interviewer to understand if you are just cooking up some stories, or if you are lying, or if you have already, done something that you are talking in your during your interview. So it's easy to catch people. It's very easy to catch people. Now, when we talk about how to master these employability skills, again, time and again, I'm mentioning, look at your CV really well, look at your daily, behaviors, daily patterns in your life. You really don't have to reach to an office setup to understand, oh, do I have these skills or no? Can I really master these skills or no? You can. Just look at your daily behavior. If you are up in the morning and you are, being proactive in making your bed and being proactive in making your breakfast, you have the proactive behavior. You are displaying proactiveness. If you are, trying and understanding other people's emotional state and offering help over there, you are somebody who has emotional intelligence. If you are able to understand other people's body language and act accordingly, you understand communication skills, and you do have communication skills. Before we proceed, I do want to talk about the body language when it is about in-person interview. The moment you step into the office, wherever you are going for an interview, the way you sit at the reception area, your assessment starts. Your assessment starts the moment you enter the venue. The way you are seated, some people sit in such a way that they come across as arrogant. Their body language talks that. They'll be sitting at the reception and they'll be talking over the phone a little louder. Very loudly, in fact. Like I said earlier, confident approach is good, but displaying overconfidence will not get you good results. There's a very thin line over there. And during the interview, I have come across people who use these words a lot. Obviously. When you use this word a lot, you come across as somebody who is arrogant, who tries to put across put the other person in a place that, hey, you are a dumb, you don't know what, you did not pay attention to me. Obviously. So you might want to work on, if you have the habit of using this word a lot, please be aware, try and minimize the use of this word. And one more thing that I want to mention here is during the interview conversations, it happens a lot. People say that, let's say that, you have already mentioned something earlier towards the beginning of the conversation. And then you say, like I said earlier, I have done all these things. So it is saying that I have resistance. I don't want to say it again. I'm not flexible to tell you or give you this information for the second time. This shows that you are not flexible enough. And sometimes, let me talk about a little bit about the psychology of an interviewer. They look at conflicting answers, okay? Your resume and what you're saying, is there a conflict or you both are in sync? They look at your body language, they look at your eye movement. It's easy to catch people when they're lying. They look at sometimes they may ask you to shuffle from one room to another. to check if you are, how is your body language, how are you behaving, are you really comfortable in, getting adjusted to the changes, because changes are going to happen, changes will be there, change is constant, it is going to be a part of our life. So you might be asked, purposely to move from one place to another, you might be asked to repeat information, you might be asked to sign n number of forms. It might be a, purposefully. I'm not saying that all the times, but definitely it happens sometimes. So if you are, getting annoyed, if you're not liking this behavior, this approach of the recruiter, it shows that you're not flexible, you are not somebody who is ready to change, you do not have the cognitive flexibility, you do not have the skills of being adaptable, you don't really adapt to new challenges, you don't take up new challenges really well. So try and understand and look at your own behavior and see how you're doing. For example, very simple example I can give you from our family daily setups. Somebody, your mom is asking you to get up in the morning. It's already 8 o'clock and you're still in the bed, hitting snooze button quite often. And then she comes and turns off the fan. AC is off, fan is off. And now you're getting irritated, you're getting angry. This is one simple thing, if you can master, to just get up from the bed. It is going to teach you a skill of being adaptable to change. The change that happened was fan got off, AC got off, and it was heat. The temperature was warm in the room. Did you adapt to the new temperature? Did you try to, adjust to the new situation? So before we go into corporate world, it's important to look at our daily behaviors, daily patterns in our life, because these are the simple things that are teaching us something that can help us in our career throughout. Now let's look at how to master these employability skills that I've spoken so far. First mantra is practice, 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 and be aware. Look at yourself in the mirror, look at your body language, look at the words that you speak. Seek help from people if you're finding it a little challenging. There is no harm in seeking help. Involve others into your practice. You might want to involve your family members, your friends, your teachers, into this practice. If you are preparing for an interview, ask them, they might be able to help. Another thing that you can do is, since a lot of telephone interviews are happening, record your voice in your phone and listen to yourself. You will understand how do you sound, whether you stammer, whether you struggle to speak, whether you are fumbling, you're mumbling, is your speech clear, is your voice audible, is your tone of voice enough polite, is polite enough, do you sound polite or do you sound, rude, or is your tone of voice is flat? So you might want to record your voice. This activity helps a lot. I still do it. This is a tried and tested formula which I'm sharing with you all. Try it and it will help you. Share your goals with them.
Can I go
Yes.
to the washroom?
Oh yes, please. Feel free.
Smita, I would just take 1 minute in between.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I'm really sorry for all the inconvenience, guys, but
No problem.
a quick request to all of you. Turning off the camera and muting yourself would be really helpful for the facilitator as well to serve you as good as she has prepared all the time. Like she has really prepared hard and she is trying to put in everything. Again, I repeat, put your questions in the chat box. We are quite used to do chatting during the class ongoing, but this is not the time when we can do that. So be mindful about what you are saying. Keeping yourself mute would be really helpful because we will anyways be taking your questions. I think this is very clear, and I can still see some cameras on. If you guys can turn off your cameras, that would be really easy for. She won't get distracted or disturbed. She's anyways doing well. She's anyways able to take care of everything. But just to cooperate a bit more to her, please turn off your cameras. Please keep yourself muted. Put your questions in the chat box. We are there. Your question will get attended for sure. Thank you so much for joining again and welcome all of you. I hope you guys are having a good time. Yeah, sorry for that, Smita. Please take over.
No problem. I understand. That's absolutely okay. So we were talking about sharing your goals with others and involving them too. For example, you might want to involve your families, your friends, and practicing your interviewing skills. And you prepare your questions. Probably, if you have your family member who is not thorough with how the interview process goes ahead, so you might want to document some questions and give them and tell them, go ahead and ask them and see how you react and respond. Get ready to empty your cup, unlearn and learn. Get ready to empty your cup refers to get ready to the preconceived notions or the behaviors that we have developed over a period of time, the knowledge that we have acquired over a period of time. It may not be, it may not hold value in the new setup where you are entering, or maybe it might be useful, but then getting ready to accept the new challenges and the new changes and flexibility to adapt to the new situation is something that an employer is looking for in an employee. Be receptive to feedback. You will get feedback at the end of the interview, and if you don't get, be proactive in asking for that. You might want to ask the interviewer, is there any feedback that you have for me? Feel free to ask that, because feedback is a gift. If they are not giving you, you be proactive in taking this gift from them. So, and another thing, what I come across is while I conduct interviews and when I am sharing the feedback with the participant, either their tone drops because they are not comfortable. They don't find it comfortable that somebody is sharing feedback with me. Second thing, it's kind of passive aggressive behavior comes up. They might say that, yeah, I agree with you, but then in the mind, they are not ready to accept that feedback. Your body language impacts over there. When you're not ready to take the feedback, you might observe yourself tapping, your feet or tapping fingers, or your some kind of frown on your forehead, your eyelids moving differently. So all these body language aspects show that you are not ready to receive feedback. And in the corporate world, you will receive feedback on daily basis. Every now and then, you will receive feedback. And if you're not ready to do that, if you're not ready to accept it, somewhere you really need to work on this. And if you want to master the skills, start asking people at home, how can I be better? What is that feedback that you have for me? What do you want me to improve upon? Start asking people in your family, probably in your friend circle, and ask them critical feedback. Tell them that, don't give me feedback just because you want me to feel happy, but then give me feedback so that I can improve. So that is important. Learn to keep personal and professional life separate. Of course, extremely important. We don't want to mix up those things. And look at your own life incidents, daily behaviors, daily patterns, daily habits, and try to relate these skills and understand how do you use these skills in your life situation, or how do you plan to use these skills henceforth. Now, simple examples, right? Communicating with your family members. If you don't like something, do you just scream and start yelling at them, or you keep calm and composed and try to figure out how can you fix this problem? Let's say that, there is something happening in the home that you don't like, and observe what is your reaction towards this incident. Do you just lock yourself in the room, or do you just yell and scream and walk out of the room, or you sit there and listen to other people's perspective? Because if you are, trying to master these skills, the point will be start practicing from your daily routine, daily behavior. Don't wait for you to grab that opportunity where you are sitting in front of a computer in an AC environment in an office, and then I will learn how to collaborate with people or how to, do conflict management. No, that's not how it happens. Look at, introspect, be aware of your daily habits, and that's when you will be able to master these skills. When you reach towards the interview closure, at the end of the interview, it is important to ask some questions. It would be a good idea to ask questions to the interviewer that shows that, yeah, you are really interested to be a part of the organization. you might want to ask questions like, what are the learning opportunities that an employee gets in the organization, or some kind of strategies towards the products that the organization is developing. For that, you will have to do a little bit of homework, get to know the organization, what kind of products they are developing, what kind of services they are offering. You might want to ask something related to that, but try and ask questions that are more towards, showing you that you are somebody who is interested to join the organization and is looking forward to have a long-term career in the organization. Not really, sometimes people ask like, what would be my shift timing? How much I'll be paid? That question, of course, are valid questions. However, anyways, recruiters do keep these discussions open and, transparent, and they answer all these questions. But then focusing too much on these things will showcase that you are somewhere not really comfortable. You are somewhere not really comfortable. All right, so that is about the discussion points that I had. I'm all set to take any questions that you may have. Please feel free to share your questions.
Wonderful. This was so great, Samita. Yeah. I'll help you out with the Q&A thing.
Sure.
Okay, Samita. First of all, this was worth knowing content. And yeah, let me just turn on the camera. Samita, how was the experience for you?
Wonderful. This is the first time I'm interacting with this community on this platform, and I'm super excited to hold more conversations like this.
Yeah. Even we are getting really good feedback, some really good questions as well. But in the time we could, it's not like exactly the inconvenience, but something that some questions were like that. You must have had that vibe of classroom, online classroom. Okay, moving on to the questions. We have some quick ones for you. The first thing that, like as you said, from campus to corporate, the first thing every candidate has that they are very nervous. So do you have any tip for that? How to get rid of that nervousness while preparing to cracking the interview?
Okay. Nervousness is very, very natural, and it does happen. It happened with me as well. For that, the tip will be practice, practice, practice. The more you practice, the more comfortable you will get. Okay. Now, when I say practice, practice with your friends, practice with your colleague, people who are elder to you, or maybe you might want to get hold of somebody who is in the work setup and they will share some experience. Another thing that I can share over here is to get rid of this nervousness, practice in the mind. There are a lot of visualization techniques. I do it, and before I could, get on this call, last night and this morning, I did this visualization exercise. This is one of the NLP techniques that I want to share here. And otherwise, also, there are a lot of YouTube videos available on visualization. Visualize the behavior that you want to exhibit during your interview, because mental practice is needed. Imagine and visualize, close your eyes, sit quietly in one place and imagine that you are in the interview room and there are, say, 2 to 3 people sitting on the other side of the table, and you are the one on the other side of the table. And you got to feel that energy. You got to feel yourself energetic, confident, and answering all of their questions. And it's okay if you don't know the answer. There is no harm in saying during the interview, I'm sorry, I don't know this answer right now. There is no harm in saying that. Rather than giving a wrong answer and just giving vague answers, it's better to say, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer. Visualization exercise does help a lot. Imagine yourself in that setup and pick up signals. You imagine yourself that you're doing great. You are able to answer all those questions and feel the energy, see what you're seeing, hear what you're hearing, and you anticipate the expressions of the interviewer also. They're clapping for you, they're saying great to you, they're giving you good compliments. So this is one way of doing internal work. It helps. It does help. So that might be helpful to a lot of people.
Wonderful, wonderful. One thing, okay, I can read a question that is from Sumant Raj. Sumant, your question is that how you can improve text messages on Slack channels. Slack is something I'm not sure she would be like friendly with that. She would not be so much aware about it. But it is again like you said that sometimes you sound rude when you text in the Slack channels. You don't
Hmm.
intend to do that. So
Okay.
how can you improve this key? So
I
Smita,
can.
if you have, yeah, take off.
Yeah, I can help you. Written communication is equally important, guys. The choice of words, not just the tone of the voice. If you try and understand, email also has a tone. Your text messages have a tone. You can come across rude or arrogant. How? Because of the words. For example, if you want somebody to do something, you might want to say, could you please help me with this? Please do this. Kindly do this. These are the words that make you sound courteous, professional, kind. The trick is when you want somebody to do something, put it across in the form of a request. Could you please help me? Could you please do this for me? Request you to do this. So you won't sound rude in that way.
True, true, very true. Smita, a quick question for somebody. They want to know more about negotiation. So they want you to elaborate a bit more. The question they have drafted is like that: how to improve negotiation skills to convince others? How to increase the problem-solving techniques apart from the practicing thing? So if you
Okay.
can take up that, yeah.
Yeah. Negotiation is definitely one of the aspects of conflict resolution. So when we are into a conflicting situation with others around us, look at, I will say, keep your data ready. If you want to convince people around, you need to have the facts and data ready, that whatever I'm saying, it is going to bring value and bring more benefits to the organization or to this project. If you haven't done the homework yet, you might want to do that. So
Right.
you will be able to, come up with better negotiation strategy. Keep your data ready, keep your figures and facts ready. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to convince people.
True,
Just
true.
the talk will not work over there. Data would work.
Very true. Okay, Savita, the next one is like the first interview from first to till the end. This is something that we recruited definitely ask the candidate that what is your strength and weakness. So how this question should be answered.
Okay, strengths, you want to map. Again, I'll go back to the point that scan your resume well. Okay, so when you say these are my strengths, you can say my strength is I am good with coordination, I am good in collaborating with people, I am good in communication skills, I'm a team player. So justify these skills. Okay, that is your strength. I'm good in managing people around me. I managed this event. I was able to collaborate with 3 different clients and get work done and all that. You need to have the incidents ready for that. So strengths is absolutely okay. You can come across various strengths, but when it comes to weaknesses, look at the way, strengths also should be in such a way that you are able to contribute towards the organization. I'm good with the development part. I'm good with this language. I'm able to, develop so many codes, and I'm good with artificial intelligence that this, organization is looking for. That becomes your strength. You can include your hard skills over there, definitely. When it comes to weakness, you want to portray your weaknesses in such a way that, again, it is adding value to the organization. For example, I am somebody who at times end up stretching or extending my shift. That's a weakness because I want to finish my work for the day and submit all my projects for the day, and I don't want it to be, gone. I don't want it to be moving to the next day because it is going to add burden for me when I come next day. So that could be one of your weaknesses because it is a weakness for you that you extend your shift. You are not able to spend a lot of time with the family, but it is a benefit for the organization. So it turns out to be a good weakness
True.
when you look at from the perspective of an employer.
Right. Okay. Samita, the first question that it is like the first question it is how to introduce yourself. Like how that question should be answer it in a creative manner as well, that it won't sound the person has prepared a lot for this question.
Mhm.
And it shouldn't like it's more than sounding robotic and prepared. How it can be like on this spot drafted, like, how it can sound like that? How should that be answered?
Okay. All right. Introduce yourself. Now here, when asking you this question, they really don't want to hear from when to when you work with this organization, from when to when you work with this client, or when did you complete your studies. Interviewer is asking you, how can you bring value to my organization? So you might want to say that my name is so and so. I have completed my so and so degree from this place, and over my education from this time to this time, I have been able to learn skills that can help the organization. For example, I have developed during my college days and during my entire experience that I have with my previous employer, I have been able to master the skills, or I have been able to understand myself better, that I am a good team player, I am good with collaboration, and this is how I'm good with I'm good at dealing with clients, I can handle tough clients, I can. So these are the things that an interviewer is specifically looking for. And later, of course, you can build upon that by giving examples.
Right. Okay, following to this question, no, we are do ask to tell us about our family background, which shouldn't, again, like somebody doesn't want to know the biodata entirely. How that should be quickly wrapped up.
Okay, so just mention that I have so many family members in my family, and that's it.
Okay.
Simple.
So they do ask, na, that what your siblings are doing, what your father is in profession. So
Yeah, I mean, of course, it gives why they ask this question is they want to understand, a recruiter wants to understand your stability. If your family is in such a setup that your father has a transferable job, recruiter will have apprehension how long you're going to stay with us.
right.
Before I invest in you, in hiring you and giving you that CTC, what if you leave me within next 6 months or one year?
Very true. Ria, I would ask you to unmute yourself now, and the question that you have wrote over there, I would ask if you can take it up. That would be wonderful. Can you hear me, or should I take it on your behalf? I would ask if you can do that. That would be great. Ria,
Yes, Poonam, I'll do that.
go ahead.
Yeah, so I had a question that when working in a team, it often happens that you're trying to help out the other teammates, and ultimately it turns out that all the load is onto you. Like they become dependent on you. So, like how to like turn it
Reducing the
into
dependency and making them more responsible for the task. Is it?
yeah. So how can we assure that that dependency doesn't come up?
Okay. All right. Ria, very good question. People do get into this habit of becoming dependent on others. You give them a fish for a day and they want you to give fish. They want to receive that fish every day. But we want that they should learn how to fish. Great question. So here, Ria, what you can do in this case is your assertive communication, clear expectation would come into picture. You can tell them, hey, you know what, I'll be able to help you. I am available today between this time to this time. I'll be able to help you. However, after that, I have some work. I'm occupied with other tasks. I'm sorry, I won't be able to help you after that. So if you have any questions, ask me now. So clear communication, clear expectations. Once or twice is okay, but then you don't want them to be dependent. You need to be assertive enough to say that clearly.
All right. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yeah, that was good one. Ria, thanks for asking this question. It is basically what we feel. It is to channelize them to and give them the resource where they can continue, rather than making them dependent on us. Right?
Yeah.
True.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. The other one for you was the problem solving technique apart from practicing. If you have any tip for that.
Problem solving.
Problem solving techniques, like how that should be approached.
Okay, being positive, definitely is one of the key skills in any situation for that, whether you are in problem. Technology is such that right now probably my internet is working and within next couple of seconds it may not work. This is a problem. How do I manage myself? First thing is manage your state. Stop panicking. Once you have your emotions in control, you will be able to think of other solutions, other aspects, other options which I may have available to figure out. So being positive in any situation for that matter is important. Secondly, what you can do is, if you are in a conflicting situation, if you have a problem that you are not able to solve, you don't have to do it by yourself all the times. Seek help. Discuss with people, discuss with your superiors, discuss with your manager, seek help from your colleagues. Don't hesitate in seeking help. Once you start seeking help from people, how it is going to help you? It will build rapport with you, with people around. It will build that connection, and once you have that, it will be a cakewalk. You will not have many challenges or much challenges on the way, because supported people around definitely are needed. People who support us. And to get that, first thing is we need to come out of our cocoon, our shell that we may have created around us, and reach out.
Wonderful. Smita, during appraisal kind of stuff, appraisal and promotion thing, there are a lot of panel discussion, and we need to speak, we need to coordinate, and we really need to perform very impressive. That we are doing something that you need to get us one level up.
Yeah.
So how that kind of discussion should be like, sometimes it is like your team lead or the superior, you're supposed to speak with them. They are not that approachable, but that is the way that you can, that is the hierarchy that you need to go through. From that way only you will be able to go to the next level. How that should be taken care of, such kind of group discussion or such kind of maybe one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
How we can perform ourselves basically.
All right. With regards to that question, Poonam, great question. When you are going through this review meetings, or you're looking for a promotion and you have these panel discussions happening, first thing is, now that doesn't happen over one day. In that discussion, they don't decide whether they want to make that team lead or manager or mentor. The decision is not taken during that meeting. That is just a formal discussion to conclude your overall performance for the year. Small incidents, how proactiveness you have shown throughout a period of time, how collaborative you have been throughout. So it is a work in progress. You don't become a team lead or mentor, or you don't get good hike just because you did well in that interview. There is a long story behind that, 1 year or 2 years or 3 years hard work behind that. In terms of data, of course, that talks a lot, that talks volume. Plus, feedback from your colleagues, feedback from people whom you are interacting on a daily basis, feedback from your leads, from your managers, from people around, how you have been able to develop good relations with people around, interpersonal relations. So if you have been accepted by people around you, only then you reach to the next level. Plus, of course, your hard skill and soft skills, plus your data. The first thing is display that presence. Have that presence felt. You should be there. Visibility should be there.
Right. So it should be all like framed thing.
Exactly.
That
doesn't happen
at that moment, right?
Yeah. That discussion doesn't decide whether you get the opportunity of becoming a lead or a mentor or not. There's a big story that follows behind that.
True.
Your daily habits, your daily actions, your daily contribution towards your teams, your daily contribution towards your work, the daily value add stuff that you're doing for your team, for your organization.
Understood. Great. So some refreshing ones for you, Smita, now. So people, like the audience we have, they want to know how to ask a TL or manager for leaves. How that conversation should happen.
All right. You know what? As a employer, you have to look at various aspects. So when you are only saying that, hey, I have planned my vacation, I don't care where the company is going, that is not the right approach. That shows that you're not responsible enough. So you plan your ahead, you plan your leaves ahead. I'm sure if these are planned leaves, people are not going to deny. And of course, if it is short notice, then that means you're not being responsible. I'm just calling in sick because I don't feel like going to office today. I mean, yeah, that's not a great point. That is not something that I would recommend. So plan your leaves. I'm sure TLs and mentors don't deny those leaves, but if it is an urgent case and emergency, yeah, definitely you can create that trust and transparency. If you don't tell them what's happening, they will not know. And if you haven't created that trust factor with your team leads or managers, they will not have that. For that, you need to have constant communication with them.
True. Cool. So I hope, Manthan, now it would be easy for you to get your leaves approved.
Manthan, who asked that question?
Manthan, he's again a part of the community. Yeah.
Okay, Manthan, I would recommend, first thing is, I'm not sure how often you speak to your team lead or manager or mentor, whoever that person is. Create that trust factor. You need to be open, and that transparency and that trust factor needs to be there. And you don't have to lie for getting leads. Tell them that, I am tired of working. I just need a break. And all of us need a break. Being honest in approaching and asking them for leaves, builds that connection. And I'm sure if I was that, if I was the team lead, I would create that comfort zone and that safety net around people of my team.
True.
And at
Yeah.
the same time, ensure that your leaves are planned in such a way that it doesn't impact the productivity of the organization or your team. And if it does, you are coming across as somebody who is not responsible.
Right. Very, very relatable. We have Praful from Flutter Nagpur team. Praful, can you take up your question by yourself? Can you answer that question? Can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
So, hi, this is Praful. I had a question regarding time estimate. So, when it comes to time estimate, everyone struggles, especially fresher. When you are fresher and some particular task is given to you, you might get into confusion that how much time it ideally takes. It might take a couple of days, but for an experienced one, I think he may end up in a day. So how to convey okay, I am a fresher, or without mentioning this that I am a fresher, and I would be requiring this much of time to complete this task.
Okay.
So what is the efficient way that we can put this forward?
All right. So, Praful, right? Praful, thank you for that question. Good one. It talks about time boxing. With experienced people, definitely will take lesser time to finish a task. And if you're a fresher, you might need more time. If the other person is sensible enough and empathetic enough, they will understand that you are a fresher, you still need some time to understand the current situation and figure out the resolution of this. But from your perspective, there is no harm in saying that, I need some more time. Now it happens with me when I am given some task. First thing is look at your own efficiency and capability. If you say that you're going to take 3 days, feel free to say that. Be open. I will take 3 days to finish this task. And when you say 3 days, ensure that while you're working on this task, your phones, your social media, and everything is aside, and you're just focused on that task and nothing else, so that you're giving your 100%. And still, if you are not able to finish the task within 3 days, by 2.5 or by second day, you would realize that I would need some more time. So keeping the other person informed is a great approach. Hey, you know what? I understand that I said 3 days is the time that I want to complete this task, but I see that I am figuring out that I need some more time to finish this task. Could you please allow me? So that would be a good idea to go ahead, but inform not at the last minute, but at least by the second day, by the end of second day, inform the other person. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for this one.
Yeah, keeping people informed well in advance is important, guys. Whether it is asking for leaves, whether it is asking for some more time to complete some tasks, whether it is some kind of situation. Let's say that today you're not able to go to office for some reason, you're not keeping well, but informing your lead like 10 minutes before the shift starts is not a great idea. You might want to drop a WhatsApp text probably 2 hours before, if you are awake, of course, that way.
True, true, very relatable. Okay. For the people who are asking that, can we have the recording of this session? Thankfully, we are able to record. We are streaming live on YouTube now. You can check the video over there. I've shared the link in the chat box. You might wish to give it a check. So this would be there. Even if you want to share with your siblings who are preparing for interview, you can just share this link with them, and they can like witness this entirely all together and offline. So this would be one way that you can help them. And yeah, it is being recorded, so don't worry about it. Smita,
Yeah.
so feedbacks are very important, right?
Yes, definitely. I was about to ask, in fact.
Yeah. So even not that one.
Feedback for me. I'm being proactive because feedback is a gift, and if you guys give it to me, I would be more than happy. Amazing.
And you will be so happy to hear the chat box. Like, no, they have wrote some really sweet and some really fun stuff for you. That how worthy it is for them to spend this morning time with you. Coming to feedback, like from the very starting, for example, if I'm appearing for the first interview in my life, I'm very nervous, but I'll need to know that what is the scope of improvement, what is where I was lacking, so that in the next one, if at all I'm getting rejected in the first one, I can perform better in the second one. So
Okay.
not every HR, we don't get the time to ask them that can you please provide me the feedback, because we might ask them and they might not be that easier. It for any XYZ reason they might not be able to share the feedback with us. So how can we let that thing know right away, or maybe later on, but we can assure that we'll be getting feedback for that.
For that, first thing is we need to open up and ask feedback. There will be some time, not many, I don't believe that recruiters are in such a hurry that they don't even speak. I don't think so, at least not in my organization or neither. I ensure that I give feedback to each and every candidate that I speak to. So be proactive in asking for that. And the best part is, display that keen and, zeal that I am ready to accept the feedback and I'm ready to implement it. Because if your body language says that you're least bothered, you're not really interested, probably recruiter will not even spend time to give you that feedback. So you might want to phrase like, I'm really curious to know how did I do in the interview. Is there any scope of opportunity? Is there any area of opportunity where I can improve so that, I do well? If not here, at least somewhere else. Would you be able to share a couple of, points that I can work upon? So if you can frame your question like this, I'm sure people will not deny. And if you ask, right, people don't say no generally.
It depends, like how we are asking, and if they have the time, they do catch it up.
Mostly they will. Like 2 minutes, everybody has. It's not. We are not in any such hurry.
Right.
I don't think so.
Guys, we wanted to tell you something. Like months back, we got to meet a Google designer, and he was talking about how to be a better professional. Other than that, a company never needs vacancy to hire a good resource. So if you are good enough, you can be hired anytime. It's just that you need to have a right approach to that. So for that, the soft skills are the one which comes in the picture. If you understand the problem well, if you have the right approach to solve that, and if you know whom to approach for that, you are all set to win that battle. So the last thing, we are almost done with all the questions. If you guys have any more questions, we will share the network links in the meetup page as well, on the Twitter as well. So if you want to know, or what else you want to learn, or what kind of sessions you want us to arrange for you in coming time, you can let us know by dropping a message for us in the Twitter box. We will check for that. We are continuously checking for that. And yeah, again, thank you so much for turning up. Thank you so much for being so active, even with the questions as well. Before wrapping up, Samita, the thing is that when we take feedbacks and everything, while exiting the interview. Sometimes we get the question from an interviewer that, "What do you have any question for us, or do you want to know anything about our company?" So generally, 90% time candidates are prepared with the website and what company does and what all the kind of product they prepare for. So how this question should be answered?
Okay. So, when you are leaving, when you are towards the end of the interview, the best thing to say is, this is the time where you can display that I am keen to learn something new. I am a lifelong learner. I am ready to unlearn that I have already learned, and I am ready to learn something new. That display, you got to display that zeal and enthusiasm. So you might want to ask, I am curious to know how this organization is providing learning opportunities to the employees once they are on board. What kind of learning platforms or what kind of learning opportunities do you provide to the employees so that they keep on enhancing their skill sets? Because definitely the skill set that I have today, it has got me to some level, but it is not going to take me to another level if I stay with these skills only. I need to improve on daily basis. I need to have this work in progress mindset. If I'm saying that, oh, I've done PhD, now there is nothing that I can learn, then that approach is a very, very incorrect or wrong approach. So you might want to ask questions, something to do with the learning. I hope that answers the question, Poonam. Yeah.
I just wanted to tell one thing. While starting, we got that, like, that's a general mindset. In India, we have the different kind of education system other than the foreign countries. If we see, we are less into practical stuff. Still, but we really need to get into that so that we'll have a skilled, no, skilled students to while they are prepping for employment. So in this time, when everybody is so up to freelancing stuff, do you guys think it is that easy to get clients and everything? The soft skills are the one which will be your weapon to get the projects, to to ask for more money, because you know how hard work it would be demanding, and you deserve that. Basically know that. So soft skills would be the whole and soul for that, especially if the people are prepping for freelancing and everything. We are all good to wrap up. A quick closer. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, I would be doing the every time that we do. I'll be thanking each one of you. Abhishek, Akshay, Bhavik, Jaimin, Kiran Kumari, Kishan Singh, Krish, Lalit, Manthan. Thank you so much, guys. You guys had some really interesting questions. She was even looking for such kind of one, so that it can be all like all in one kind of stuff. What she prepared, and then some realistic questions along with everything else. So I think it was much helpful and very fruitful, because your questions made it even more interesting. Yeah. So thanks, Manthan. Praful, thank you so much. Riya, thank you so much. Rudra, Sunny, everybody, thank you so much. Saurav, Vivek, Yash. This was fun. This was very very important for us to have really nice and quality audience who can ask questions, who for whom this was really helpful. So we really believe that we could try to meet your expectations. Simita tried really hard. She prepared herself in very quick time, even though she is going this like she is doing work from home. She's taking interviews even now. She's taking all the responsibilities that no, she's she's on top of it. But along with that, she took out some time for us and she prepared the presentation. She prepared herself, and yeah, this tool was completely new for us. So she even gets gelled up with very easily on this. So yeah, thank you so much, Simita. We cannot thank you enough for this one because this was something we got some established experienced person who can make most out of everybody's time, and this was really important to know that what exactly you need to learn, what exactly you need to work upon, so that you can evolve as a human along with that as a professional, so that from campus to corporate it would be easy and smooth ride for everyone. So this was way more important currently in 2020. Yes, it was definitely one, the kind of MNCs, because people are preparing for Google and Facebook. But man, then you need to map yourself accordingly because they don't hire everyone. You need to have that jam in you, and that would be soft skill because communication cannot be taught or learned over the night. Probably, if you'll start learning Flutter by 12 a.m. tonight, probably you will be done. You will be all set in that by tomorrow noon. But soft skills, you cannot.
You can, yeah. I mean, people can go through all the big books of English grammar and comprehension, but still they would not understand this language. They would, unless and until you start practicing it, experiencing it. And
Right.
one more thing I think I forgot to mention is these days a lot of telephone interviews are happening. So ensure that when you're talking to an interviewer, you are seated, sit at one place. People have this habit of moving and then speaking to, over the phone, which is not the right approach. The reason is it impacts your clarity of the speech, it impacts your tone of voice, your voice fluctuates, and it impacts the inflection in your voice also. So be seated, talk confidently, don't lean or lie down and then speak. Just sit comfortably in a sofa or at a place where you can, sit properly, and then go ahead with the interview call.
Magic happened. I just wrote this question, but I forgot to ask you. I just keep it.
Okay. No worries, no worries.
Great, because telephone recently, people like during lockdown, they can definitely not appear for the interviews. But
Yeah,
telephone
correct,
is something that is still ongoing, and you might also be taking. So this would be really
Lots, lot of every day.
wonderful. Okay, I'll just ask the organizing team to turn up their cameras, and we'll just quickly say thank you to everyone, and then we can wrap up. We will be sharing all the Twitter handles with all of you, so that you can connect with Samita, you can connect with us, and you can, if you have any questions even later on, you can ask her. She would be really happy and glad to answer that question.
Yes,
Because
please,
that's what she is planning to, like empowering and filtering the candidates. So and about this Slack channel link, we will update that in Meetup page. So you guys can just stay tuned. By the end of the day, we will be all sorted with all the stuff that we have to share. Probably we would be sharing the PPT as well that she prepared. And that too we will share very quickly with you all. So you can just catch that up whenever it is needed. Recorded, so it would be a good memory. Along with that, we have already prepared some content for all of you. We see a lot of interview tips on YouTube, but this was something I personally felt which was worth knowing. Okay, so a quick thank you to all of you again. I can, because having all of you on Sunday morning, that on such a quick notice, because you guys know Flutter IndiaCon is ongoing now. We are really scheduled in that. But again, along with that, we have our work responsibilities. We are working, and everything is ongoing. Parallelly, we are trying to get this up, and we are able to gather you guys. So that is something that we are like when. So thank you all of you for turning up. Thank you for your active participation. Thank you so much for the interesting questions that you had. We really hope this would be helpful. You can catch this YouTube video on offline later on as well. And yeah, here we will be wrapping up. I'll just quickly show you the dash. who really wants to say bye to all of you, and then we will wrap up. There you go, guys. Just saying bye to all of you. We have the third last day of Flutter India Con tonight. You can stay tuned for the Twitter channel, and yeah, you can watch the closing note and everything will be there. We have some really good speakers lined up for today's evening as well. So catch it there, and yeah, thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.